Hi, this is Dan from UserSpice.com. I've already made videos showing you how to install UserSpice and just kind of gave you a tour of the entire project. And then I have another video that walks you through how to convert an existing project to a UserSpice project, something that UserSpice can control. But I want to just show you how to kind of start from scratch. When you first install UserSpice, this is your index. I may put some more stuff here in the future. UserSpice 3 kind of had some instructions here, but you basically have a pretty useless index.php file. When you look at the directory, all you're going to have is the index.php. There might be a folder that says if install fails. There's some extra instructions. You can delete those if you're done with them. Once you install the program, you don't really need that. So there's some classes that are available to you. You can use them. You don't have to use them. We'll talk about those in a little bit. You have this core thing that has basically your initialization file and some leftover stuff from the install. And then you have this is that useless index.php file. And then you have all of the UserSpice files. And there's a lot of stuff in here. And the whole kind of point is that, you shouldn't really have to touch this stuff very much. You can choose to do some styling and all that if you want to, but for the most part, if you leave this stuff alone, you'll be able to come back later and upgrade without any issues at all. If you start modifying these files a bunch, then you might have to patch some things instead of just dropping the upgrade on top of there. So what I would recommend is if you want to make your own version of, say, this admin users file, I would call it something else, like admin people or something like that, to where, if you do an upgrade, it's not going to break anything. So anyway, we're going to look at what we've got here. So I'm going to pull this up in the code editor, and I have this index.php file. And so right at the top here, this is just a very basic file. In fact, you can go ahead and delete it. In fact, let's go ahead and delete it. Let's minimize this. We're going to come in here and we're just going to delete this because I think there's a better place to start. So I'm going to delete this file. Now, if you go into users and blank pages, there's this file here called project root. And so the idea of this is that this is where, if you're going to create anything in this root folder, this is kind of a good starting point. And the reason for that is if you start your project on this file and you don't delete too much, then you'll be able to take advantage of all the advanced features in the back. So I'm just gonna copy this over here, and so I've got it there. I'm gonna make another one just for the heck of it. So I'm gonna rename this as index.php, and we'll kind of see what we have to work with. So when I refresh, I have, voila, the same thing. But when you come in here, it got rid of some of the logic that was in there for the install. And so this is kind of a lot cleaner. You have a header, which is where I'm calling some of my initial functions and things like that. You have the navigation, where if you want to edit some of these links, which you're definitely going to want to do, that's in users, includes front-end navigation. So you can edit that stuff. We'll kind of talk you through that. And then you have this basic thing, and which is just your header. This is all standard Bootstrap stuff, so I highly recommend you check out some documentation on Bootstrap or look at some of the documentation on UserSpice.com. So you can come through here and edit this stuff. So you can do my project, welcome to my project. You can say it is, okay? And so, you have access to that kind of stuff. And then I make it really clear. Your content goes here. And so you can make your own template if you want. You can make this, if you know that you want this on every single page, then you can come in here and let's just X this out. Let's just copy this out, and I'm gonna Control X that. And then I'm going to come in here we'll just make our own includes folder. We can do whatever we want. UserSpice just doesn't care. So I'm going to make a new folder, and I'm going to just call it, let's call it my stuff. Again, I would encourage, oops, that's a file, that's not a folder. Let's make a folder called my stuff. I'd encourage you to do a little bit better code organization than this. But I just kind of want to show you that the, did I do that again? Dang. New folder. My stuff. That's weird. Let me go in there and delete that. Oh, I guess because I didn't give it an extension. So, okay, cool. I'm learning with you guys. So, new folder, my stuff. Okay, so and we're just going to make a new file in here called, let's call it tagline.php. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to paste all that stuff in here. And now I can do this. I can just open up PHP and I can say require once parenthesis quote my stuff / tagline.php. And so what I'm basically doing here is I'm making my own template. Like I'm saying, I don't want to use UserSpice's template. You know, it's a good starting place, but I want every one of my pages to have that on there. So now I'm going to save this, and I'm going to save it as, and I'm just going to call it my template.php. So now I have my own template, and I don't need to use UserSpice's stuff. So anytime I want to make a new file, I'm gonna use that one. So anyway, so what's cool about UserSpice is you have access to a lot of things. You have access to everything that UserSpice has access to. So we're going to show you some cool things. So if you come here to userspice.com, which we're getting hammered a little bit because I just released 4.0, but you have this documentation, and so you can look at what the database class has and all that stuff. We're going to start just with this thing I call functions, like functions. And so you can see that what I've done is I've written a few functions here that make it really nice to see what's going on. So we're going to take this one thing where it says dump variable. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to just right in the middle in the content.php thing, I'm going to open up PHP and I'm going to say dump user. And I'm going to do that, and I'm going to close PHP and I'm going to save it. And I'm going to come back here and I'm going to refresh my page. And I have nothing because I'm not signed in. But if I were to sign in, and I come back here, I'm going to sign in as admin. Okay, now when I go back to the home page, I still have nothing because I probably didn't save it. Oh, because I'm on my template, that's why. So let's go to the index, and in that same spot, I'm going to dump user. And I have access to all of this. And so this is everything that UserSpice knows about the user. So I have their public username. You obviously would not want to echo out their password, but I have their first name, their last name, what permission levels they have, how many times they've logged in, what company they work for, when the last time they logged in was. All of this stuff is just at my disposal. So when I'm in here, and I'm just giving you some quick and dirty PHP, like I'm not here to teach you how to use PHP, but I'm going to delete this, and so I can come in here and say, let's do an H1 tag or something like that. Let's do H1. Got an extra one there, so we're going to do that. Let's just, for the heck of it, put it here and close our H1, and we're going to say, welcome to my site, comma, space, and then we're going to open up our PHP here, and we're going to do the shorthand for the echoing, so we're going to say there. And so now, when you look at this dump that we have here, I have this stuff, it says public, so I dumped user, and I have public first name, and I have public last name, and I have public username, and all that kind of stuff. So you'll see here that it's in this thing called data. Now, you could do a few things. I'll show you some tricks, but you can come in here and you can say, I want to echo out user, and I want to echo out that user's data, and the thing I want is their first name. And I'm going to semicolon that out, and I'm going to come back here and I'm just going to pull all this together and close my H1. Now, when I refresh this page, it's going to say, welcome to my site, admin, because that's the name in there. And so I could even come in here and take this, and I can concatenate, or I can do whatever I want, and I think I have to put a period there. And I can do that, and I can type L name. So I'm going to concatenate a space on there. which is just putting a dot, a couple dots and some spaces. So I'm going to come back here and I'm going to, oops, I knew I did that wrong. Oh yeah, I got to put quotes around that. So let's just make this a little bit neater. Let's come down here. So I'm going to put some quotes. There we go. That's what I needed. I need to actually put a space in there. PHP 101, I fouled it up. Okay, so now I can say welcome to my site, admin user, and I have total control to everything that UserSpice knows, even though I'm just sitting here making my own pages. So let's go ahead here and we'll redump user again. Let's just see what we got. So let me make PHP. Okay, so we're going to dump user again, and we're going to refresh the page. And I'm going to see that I have something here called logins. So let's just, we're just going to do this one more time. You'll get the point of it. So we'll leave that there and say, we'll do an echo just to be different. You have logged in space, then we're going to put the dot, and then we're going to take this same thing here and we're just going to copy this. Dot, and then we'll put a quote times, and then we're going to close that out. So basically we're saying, echo, you have logged in this many times, and hopefully I got my syntax right. And if I refresh the page, you have logged in 5 times. So I mean, we have access to all of this cool stuff. And so basically you can build whatever you want here and take advantage of all the things that UserSpice has to offer. You can write your own functions. You can do all kinds of cool things. Some of the things you may want to do, when you come to account info, you have this basic panel here. And so you can come into the user's account page, and let's just take a look at it real quick. Let's go to users account.php. So right now you have this thing that's just saying this is your main profile page, all that kind of stuff. You wouldn't want to show that to your user. You want it to look good. So you're going to come in here and you can say, something like, welcome to my site. Here is where you do stuff, or whatever you would want to put there. And, obviously, HTML, that's what's going to happen. Obviously, you'd want the last period there. So you can come in here, you can reformat this kind of stuff. You can decide that you want people to be able to have public profiles. That's all built in. If you come in here, you can say edit your profile, and the person can come in. It's going to load a WYSIWYG editor, and they can say, so they can update their bio, and then when you come back to the account thing, you can look at everybody's stuff, and when you look at there, you're going to see this is the admin's bio. It's really awesome. You have the whole WYSIWYG thing going on there. So, but the question is, now we've got one page going on. So if you come back to the code editor, you can see, I knew that was going to happen. If you go back to the code editor in this root thing, you can see that we have index and we have my template. So let's go ahead and, just for the heck of it, we're going to make another page. So we're going to go on this my template thing, and we already have the tagline included, and we're going to save as, and then we're going to call it secret. Secret.php. And so now we've renamed this page as secret.php, and then we can come in and say, this is a secure page on my site. You must have access to be here because I give you super secret info. Okay, so you can do whatever you want. You can make that page however you want. You can save it. And then what you're going to want to do is, that's my last video I did, is just popped up on the screen using up all my memory. You can come in here to the admin panel, and you'll see that we have 21 pages. So I'm going to come in here and manage them. And what's come up now is our index was already here, but we have this secret.php, and we have the template because it's still sitting there. And so I can come in here and make this private and say that only the administrator can see this page, and then I'm going to update that. while I'm at it, I'll show you a couple of other things. You can come in here and play with the CSS of your page. We've included, so the way this works is this is the UserSpice settings, and this is the front end. The front end is the area that we were working on. And you can see that we have all these different color schemes that are up here. And then this is the template which kind of does this whole layout of the Bootstrap. And then this is any custom CSS that you make. So I'm going to show you on the back end because it's easier for you to see. But we have this thing where you can look at CSS samples. So I'm going to hit that, and all of a sudden we have an idea. This is what a primary button looks like. This is what an info button and all this stuff. This is what the fonts look like. So we're going to say, all right, I want to check out what the, let's say, what the clean theme looks like. And I'm going to save it. It's like, wow, okay, that's pretty cool. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put UserSpice back to the standard theme and save that. And then I'm going to put the front end on this clean theme and hit save. Now what happens when I go to, now this one is on that clean theme, so this is brighter, everything looks a lot brighter and all that, and you've changed all that from the back without having to edit one little key of CSS. But now here's the other thing. What happens if I try to go to secret.php? Oops, I missed a P. Okay, I can view that because why? Because I'm an administrator. But what happens if I sign out? So let's see here. I don't have user on there. Like I said, I would have done some logic on that stuff, like you would put if user, but I'm not here to teach you PHP. But what happens if I try to go to secret.php now? I can't get there because I'm redirected, and I haven't set up the redirection on this install, but I'm sent somewhere else because I'm not allowed to visit that page. And so back in the settings, you can sit there and decide where you're redirected and all that kind of stuff. You can also edit some functions. You can do whatever you want. But the point is that in the front, you're able to pretty much do whatever you want, code whatever you want, and UserSpice just gives you the tools to build whatever it is you want. I realized that I never showed you how to do this if the user isn't logged in, because you wouldn't want to just echo this kind of stuff out. I was doing that as an example, but I never really showed you the right way to do it. So you're going to get these errors because a user doesn't exist. So the right way to do this, and this is a PHP echo, so I'm going to kind of neaten this code back up. So I'm going to say welcome to my site, and then I'm going to open up just real PHP tags, and I'm going to say if user is logged in, then, and I'm going to get rid of this. So if the user is logged in, then I want to give the, we'll do the echo, the user first name, put in a space, the user last name, and then we're going to close this down here. We're going to get that out of the way. And then you're going to echo, let's see here, we're going to get rid of that closing tag. I'm just going to kind of clean up my code to make it a little bit easier to see. So if the user is logged in, then echo the username and the last name or whatever. We could put in some break tags here. That'll probably look a little bit better. And then, so basically what we're going to do is we're going to say if the user is logged in, then echo out their first name, put a space, the last name, break to a new line, and then say you have logged in this number of times, and then we're going to close PHP right here. And then you could do something like, well, and then you actually want to close that last bracket from this thing right here that you're wrapping all that in. And you could even do something like else, do another one, and then echo welcome to my site, and then we'll just put the word guest, because if I can spell guest, you can see here that right now it's set up to say welcome to my site, comma, and this is going to look ugly, but I mean that's the gist of what you have to do. You want an if-else statement there, and that'll clean all that up. Welcome to my site, guest. And now you'll notice that because the user hasn't there's no logged in user, it doesn't even try to say how many times they've logged in. So if I come in here and log in as user, I can log in. I'm going to come back here. Now it's going to say I've logged in 3 times. So that's some of the conditional logic that needs to happen there if you're going to start echoing that stuff all over public pages. But it's not very hard. And speaking of the conditional logic, let's take a look at the navigation. If you go to the includes and you go to navigation.php, you have this, all this stuff here. You have that giant copyright notice at the top. But this is basically the navigation bar, and this is a great example of the conditional logic. So you can see what's going on here is if the user's logged in, then we're going to do a drop down, and we're going to have the option to let them check their account info, and we're also going to give them an option to log out because you don't want people to be able to log out if they haven't logged in. And then it's basically going to say there's some special things here. If they're an administrator, then it's going to ask them if they want to go to the admin panel. If not, then let them log in or join. And that logic right there is what's going on here. So if I sign out, then this is going to switch to sign in and sign up. And that's what we're looking at right here, sign in, sign up. And so then you have this drop-down bar right here. Sorry, I told you that was a drop-down. It's a class of drop-down, but it's not really dropping down. So then you have, if they're logged in, then you're going to echo out their username. And so that's what was going on here, where it had my username up here. But if not, then echo account. And so that's another example of what we just did on the home page. And then you have the drop-down menu. So if they're logged in, then I just have right now logged in link 1 and logged in link 2. So let's just go ahead and pay. We made that page called secret. And we don't really want people going there unless they're logged in because they're protected from that. So we're going to put visit secret page. That might be too long for the menu, but we'll do it anyway. And then we'll go to secret.php because that's in the root folder. There's another logged in link here. If they're not logged out, if they're not logged in, then they would have access to these other links. And so when I save this, now this is going to go on anything that's on that template that you've been messing with. And so I'm going to refresh this. I'm not logged in, so all I have is other link 1 and other link 2 that I left there as an example. But if I sign in, when I'm at the front of the site, which is where your users will be most of the time, then I get this menu, and I can visit the secret page, and no problems at all. So anyway, you have a lot of conditional logic that allows your site to be completely different based on whether the person's logged in, what access level they have, and all that kind of stuff. That stuff's all fully documented at UserSpice.com.